guys know, first of all, before we do anything in the kitchen, what do you need to do? I'll give you a big hint. I'm doing it right now. You know I hate it when you guys all talk at once. Yeah, I hate it when you guys talk all at one time. Come on now. All right, so you're going to wash your hands first because you want to make sure that you are not contaminating anything or cross-contaminating anything. And I will talk about that throughout this video. So you'll notice that I cut off my water with my wrist instead of touching it again, because what would happen? I touched it with dirty hands, so my hands will be dirty again. So I'm drying my hands really good because I'm going to put on gloves because I do have a cut on my hand. And I do have on a Band-Aid. It is a clean Band-Aid, but just for safety precautions and everything else, I'm going to put on some gloves.
Now, I know she's talked before about ServSafe. If she was in a professional restaurant, what is she wearing that she would not be allowed to wear even though she's washed her hands and has on gloves? Anybody see what she's still wearing that she wouldn't be allowed to be wearing?
I have on a lot of jewelry. I have on bracelets and I have on a watch. I have on earrings. My hair is not in a hairnet or a hat. So I'm breaking lots and lots of ServSafe rules, but it's not just ServSafe. It's in any kitchen, in any restaurant, whether it's fast food or real food. You have to make sure that you guys are following guidelines because it's really for safety more than anything else. I feel really weird because I'm talking into this one and I kind of need to be talking into this one too so you guys know what's going on.
I'll move this one over there.
So I'm like, there's multiples of you guys. Maybe that'll work. Who knows? All right. So what I've got over here is I've got a big pot and I'm going to turn that to a medium-high heat. And I'm going to throw a drizzle of olive oil in it and let that come up to heat. I'm also going to turn on some extra light so you guys can see a little more. All right, nice little drizzle of olive oil in here. I don't know if the YouTube video can see me or not. I don't know, guys. All right, so we're going to let this come up to heat with some oil. And we're going to make a mirepoix. And a mirepoix simply is a French word that means when all things come together. And when all things come together, then it makes a meal. So a mirepoix usually consists of onions, maybe a pepper, or celery, garlic, carrots, a lot of those different items. And they start as like a stock base or a sauce base. And those give you those underlying flavors and richness of a lot of the sauces and soups and things that you would normally go out somewhere and be like, oh, this is so good, but I can't figure out what this is or what's got in it. A lot of it starts with the beginnings and the first steps. So our mirepoix, we are going to start out, I've got some diced onion. I don't know if you guys, I diced up an onion. It's just a medium dice. And my pan is getting a little bit of heat to it. So I'm going to dump, this is a whole onion, nice little sizzle. So there's a whole onion in there. And I've got some garlic cloves. You guys have these in your, back and forth, in your bags as well. So you'll just peel them and then you're gonna just dice them up. And you can use a garlic press, you can use a little cutlery thing, or you can do the bridge method and just dice this very carefully. Be careful, it is small. You're going to want to use a small paring knife to actually cut this. So that's going straight in there too. Alright, so one of the other great things in a mirepoix is celery. Celery has got a flavor that is just undescribable once it's cooked and when it goes into things and it infuses. You'll notice in here, like you're seeing leafy stuff. You can cut up an entire stalk of celery, leaves and all, especially if you're making soups or bases or broth. And it actually gives it more flavor. So I'm going to throw all of that right in. Another thing for a mirepoix is carrots. So I'm going to dump all of this in here, and we're going to give it a nice stir. I'm going to I'm going to show you how to cut up a couple other veggies that we're going to add into our mirepoix here in just a few minutes. And then we're going to steam this, and we're going to steam it to soften like our sweet potatoes and stuff here. But to still keep it vegetarian, I'm using water. You can use chicken stock, you could use vegetable stock, you can use butter. You can use any of those things to make a thicker or richer broth. Like I said, I'm going completely vegetarian with this, so we're using water and olive oil. This is sizzling away. It's making some nice sound and color. My onions are already starting to get what I call translucent. Will you pop that out of there, please? Just so you guys can see a little more as to what's going on here. All right. So once these onions and everything hit, you can see how some of them are really white and then some of them are getting a clearish color to them. That's called translucent. You want that to cook down, and you want them, I'll show you when it's just about perfect, but you want to give them a good little stir and making sure they're not sticking to the pan. If they stick a little bit, it's okay. But you're going to saute that up for a little bit, let it come to a nice translucent consistency and texture. And then you're going to start adding in wet ingredients to deglaze that pan, and we're going to steam off the rest of our vegetables. While I'm doing that, I'm going to show you guys how to cut up a pepper and how to do it the right way. So I'm sure some of you guys are like, well, I've had a pepper before and I just cut it up. Well, there's actually a sticker on here that I can't get off. There's actually a technical way to cut a pepper. Oh my goodness. Hey, Fred. Can you pull that off for me?
Yes.
So I'm gonna give that to Elizabeth. While we're doing that, I'm gonna show you guys how to cut some cilantro real fast, because you've got this in your bag. You do not have to pluck it. You do not have to peel it. You don't have to do any of that. You're gonna bunch it all up. You're gonna fold those other pieces in, so you've got a nice even bunch. Fold it under. Claw method. Courtney, this is what I was talking about with you, with your knife skills, and this goes for Jade as well. I want you to use the claw method. I can't cut my finger off if my knuckles are turned in. This is your claw. Make sure that your claw is in. I can't cut my finger. If my fingers are out, oh, suddenly there goes the tips of my fingers and my hands, and I contaminated everything and nothing's good. All right, so claw method, bring this in, and you're just gonna make some fine chops all the way across. And you're gonna go about halfway down into that stem. Yeah, there's some other little pieces in there, but it's not terrible. You're not really losing a lot. And then you're just gonna come back and you're gonna quick dice all that cilantro. This is like my favorite herb. All right, so we've got that all kind of cut up and moved to the side. I'm gonna show you how to cut this pepper. Normally, you would use another cutting board, but the fact that all of this is ready to eat food and it does not have anything that can make you sick or hurt you, you're able to use the same board, and you're able to do that a lot with vegetables. You want to be careful. A pepper is considered a nightshade. Some people are allergic to nightshades, so you would not want to put these on the same cutting board. Nobody here is allergic to any of this, so I'm going to use the same cutting board. Nobody can get sick from this because they're both vegetables. They're both ready to eat foods. So you're going to cut the top off. You're going to cut the bottom off. Set that to the side. All right, this entire bottom can be diced. So instead of throwing out a lot of that, my knife needs to be sharpened in a bad way, guys. All right, same thing here. There is so much of this that can actually be used. A lot of people throw away the top of a pepper. Every bit of that can now be used and saved. So I'm just going to cut that real fast. And I'm just doing a rough chop, which is about a medium chop, if you want to get super technical. But all of this stuff's going to cook down, and with it being like a soup, I want different pieces and different textures and different sizes, just because that makes every bite different. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pop the membrane out of this guy. Real simple, and every bit of this can be cut. I'm going to stir my mirepoix, which is actually sticking to the bottom a little bit. Flinging onions, guys. So I'm getting a little bit of color and a little bit of stuck here to the bottom. That's okay, but that's about as much as you want. So that means that this has gotten pretty dry. So you can either add more oil, or you can look at this. My onions have got a beautiful color, and my celery is starting to lighten up. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna deglaze this pan. By deglaze, all that brown is gonna come up, and then I'm going to just make a lot of noise. And now all of that is, see how the water turned almost like a brownish color? Is it's pulling all of that up off of the bottom. Which I know you guys probably can't see it either because you're watching from there too. This is so confusing trying to figure this all out.
They can always go back and watch it later if they want to see the up close.
Yeah. All right. So I've got these beautiful slices here. And you get twice as much out of your pepper if you actually cut it this way versus trying to cut the entire thing. And you can always use the bridge method, and sometimes the bridge method means you're going in between, but you've got a finger stuck way out. So that's up to you guys, whatever's comfortable, but I want to see fingers tucked in, and I want to see you hold a knife, fingers wrapped around here, thumb here, and you want to get a good grip, okay? Don't put your finger on the blade. If you have your finger here and you're chopping, you get this extra pressure from the tang and where the knife comes in. So it's leaving a mark and it's getting sore, but you can't control this knife because now it's got all this extra wobble and your finger can slide very easily. So you want to make sure you got a good grip, because if I've got a good grip, it's not falling out of my hand. And it makes it much easier for me to handle. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw in all my pepper in here. And I'm going to add some of this cilantro in as I'm scooping it up to go ahead and start getting some extra flavor. All right. So I'm just going to give that a nice little stir and fold everything in. At this point, I've got some rough chopped sweet potatoes that I've peeled and I've cut into little squares and pieces. And I'm going to put those in, and that's going to give us a nice little steam, because there's just a little bit of liquid in here, about a third of it, and I'm going to mix all of that in. I'm going to turn, Elizabeth's going to come and show you guys. So I've got liquid to about here, and then I just threw and mixed in all of this. So at this point, I'm going to find my lid, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this up to high, because I want it to steam. So this is good. I've got my lime here, and you each have a half a lime. Once this steams, I'm going to squeeze this into our base, and then I'm going to put the entire lime down in it and just let it kind of simmer. In each of your boxes, you guys have black beans and tomatoes and corn. So this is just a mix because I was dividing everything up for you guys out of big cans. And so I just dumped everything that I needed in here. So once this starts to boil down and steam a little more, I'm going to add this in. And I'm changing my gloves because I got my gloves wet and full of things that I just don't want to touch anymore. So until I get to that, we will, I don't think I need gloves back on. All right. Each of you have a pack of taco seasoning because it's a generalized season for what we need, and it wasn't like 20 different things that I needed you to find in your pantry. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dump this in with our sweet potato mixture. And just give it a nice little stir. Now that smells really good, guys. Alright, so we're going to let that boil down for a few minutes. And you know what, since I don't have on gloves, this is a perfect time to talk about cross-contamination. So I'm going to set this here, and we're going to let this cook for a few minutes. Who knows what cross-contamination is? Any of you guys want to talk to me and answer these questions at the same time? Because I really like it when you talk to me and interact. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Courtney, let me see your face. Brian, I need to see your face too for participation. Thank you. So, cross-contamination is when sometimes like certain food items touch other food items and they can make you sick, like with an allergy, or they can make you sick because maybe they were raw meat. Maybe they're carrying bacteria like salmonella, which is currently found on chicken. So I'm going to show you guys, and you're going to think this is really crazy, but you can see chocolate syrup, okay? So in this bowl, I'm going to squeeze some chocolate syrup, okay? And we're going to pretend that I had cut up chicken, okay? So we're pretending that the chocolate syrup is chicken. All right, I cut it up. I'm cutting it up. Okay, I picked up my chicken breast to put it in something else. All right, well, my knife has chocolate syrup on it. You guys can see that. And I touched this raw chicken, okay? And I put it over here and I put it in my pot. But to get to my pot, I had to open it. Well, I wasn't thinking, and I went ahead and I reached in and I grabbed it. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I need a handful of cilantro. So I'm going to come and I'm going to take that handful of cilantro, and now I picked it up. And now it's covered in that chocolate syrup. So it's covered in chicken. It's covered in salmonella. Okay? So if I were to eat this, I would get sick. It's really sticky, guys. It's really, really sticky. And then I was like, okay, well maybe I need something else on my cutting board. Maybe I need to turn on the sink. You get extras because you get to see the cilantro everywhere. So I'm cooking, I'm preparing stuff. I'm washing my hands, guys. I got to get this off of me. All right. So I'm going to show you. We now have salmonella dripping from our pot over here. We now have salmonella on our knife, and I'm going to pick it up, and I gave it a quick rinse. Okay? But that's still there because I didn't wash it. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. And salmonella and any bacteria is the worst because you can't see them. They're not like chocolate syrup. They don't have a color. They don't have a smell. And there are lots of little germs. And if I'm picking up and I'm doing and I'm constantly moving, all I've done is spread germs, which is why you want to wash your hands. You want to change your gloves. You want to make sure that you're cleaning your surfaces and your utensils, because I really don't want all this chocolate syrup on my handle. But even if I wiped it off, and I think I got it, I wiped that entire thing down, guys. And look, I just used